Just wanted to give you guys a quick little introduction before I get started. This was my first book. I wrote it in 2023, published it in 2024. The second one is currently in editing. Now, I don't have any delusions that this is a perfect, book. It does have some issues, and if I were to go back, there are some things I would fix. That being said, I knew if I didn't go ahead and publish it, and I would probably leave it in editing for years and maybe not ever publish it. So it was more of I wanted to force myself to go ahead and write and publish this and get it out there and kind of go the style of where I'll improve my craft as I work. Now, a little bit of background on me as the author. I went to school for computer science. I worked in programming for banks and law firms. I started opening my own entrepreneurial companies, doing website development, and then got into fish business and things like that. So all of my content I do myself. I edit with either friends, family, or myself. My websites for the fish business and the YouTube's all done by myself. And that's just kind of how this is done. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoy it. This will be the first chapter, including the prologue and copyright and dedication, all that.
Copyright 2024. Taylor Bishop, all rights reserved. The characters and events portrayed in this book are fictitious. Any similarity to real persons, living or dead, is coincidental and not intended by the author. No part of this book may be reproduced or stored in a retrieval system or transmitted in any form or by any means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, or otherwise, without express written permission of the publisher. Cover design by Chris Kennedy. Dedication to the friends and family who believed in my dreams, offered guidance, and stood by my side throughout this journey. Your unwavering support has made all the difference, and for that I am eternally grateful. This story is a testament to our bond, and may it inspire others to embark on their own adventures with the same love and camaraderie we've shared.
Prologue. Drip, step, drip, step. The rhythmic sound of my blood dripping onto the cold concrete floor echoes through the empty corridor, a morbid metronome marking each step I take. My name? David. No last name, because no one ever bothered to give me one. Faceless in a crowd. Unremarkable. Just another guy. Scars crisscross my body like an intricate roadmap of my past, each one telling its own story, bearing witness to the battles fought and won. I've never been particularly handsome or tall, but I never give up. How did I find myself in this strange place? Bleeding everywhere, being chased by a crazed group of murderous psychos. It all has to do with my job. Ever since I can remember, I've had the gift, or curse, to see and interact with the unseen world. Just yesterday, I saw a manically grinning imp shit in a woman's coffee right before she drank it. She spat her coffee out everywhere, going full Karen on the bistro staff, proclaiming they made her drink raw. That's just another day in my life. These things are invisible to most people, but that doesn't mean they don't affect them. In general, the unseen world likes to remain that way, hidden from sight. I do odd jobs involving dealing with the unseen world for a living. Some are worse than others. The worst one I've done was probably dehaunting a house after a demon orgy took place. Never again will my sense of smell and taste suffer through such an experience. My life isn't all glamour, but it keeps me fed and gives me purpose. I've been mostly successful at this line of work. Now the opportunity I was waiting for has finally arrived. The opportunity of a lifetime. It's time to put all my experience to the test. No matter what challenges lie ahead, I won't back down. I'm David, the guy currently bleeding everywhere. And today I face my greatest challenge yet. It was swelteringly hot the day I got a job that changed everything. A suffocating heat so oppressive it made you wish skin were removable and air conditioning more accessible. This should have been my first clue that nothing good would come from today. The sky had begun to transform into shades of orange and red, while children were called inside for the day's end. I persevered through the heat, preparing one of my last meals. Nothing fancy, just a cheap cut of meat, seasoned with salt and pepper, grilled to perfection on an old rusted grill that had seen better days. I couldn't afford anything more extravagant. My finances were in shambles. It had been far too long since I last received a steady paycheck. With gloved hands, I pulled the meat off the grill, placed it on a paper plate, an easy cleanup choice, and made my way to my favorite chair, a comfortable dark brown leather armchair. The room around me was sparsely decorated, as if I were always preparing for a swift departure. This life on the move had become a habit, born out of necessity. Over the years, I had made more enemies than friends, each new foe adding to my ever-growing list of debts and betrayals. I once stayed in one place for too long, underestimating how close my past could catch up with me. Now, I kept my whereabouts a secret, always ready to move if the situation demanded it. A happy chime, followed by my phone lighting up, signaled that someone wanted my attention. Ignoring it seemed like a better idea than interrupting my meal, but an unsettling feeling nagged at me. I should check anyway. The notification screen flickered to life with a cheerful enthusiasm, revealing a message from Prescott, labeled on my phone as smug douche. The digital message on my phone screen blinked, casting cold, commanding light against the dimly lit room. "I have a job for you," Prescott wrote. "Meet me at the usual spot in an hour. Don't be late this time." The message dangled like bait, offering an opportunity but also exuding the unmistakable scent of manipulation. Prescott's messages were never warm or inviting. Instead, they carried curt directives with a detached air of authority. The usual spot referred to our rendezvous point, a place of clandestine dealings and precarious alliances that lay hidden in the shadows of Mad Lads. An establishment catering to the underbelly of society, where rules were different, where trust was traded like a commodity. As the minutes ticked away, I couldn't shake the feeling that this job, this seemingly fortuitous opportunity, was merely a prelude to a storm brewing on the horizon. But financial strain gnawed at my resolve like an insatiable hunger. As I prepared to face Prescott, the oppressive heat of the day clung to my skin, mirroring the increasing discomfort in the pit of my stomach. The taste of the hastily consumed meal lingered, mixed with the bitter realization that I was once again entangled in Prescott's web, forced into an intricate dance of deceit and danger that marked his modus operandi. A sigh escaped me, the manifestation of a silent vow to tread carefully in the murky waters of this job. The familiar weight of my keys met my palm, connecting me to the roaring freedom of my Honda Shadow, the two-wheeled companion that had accompanied me through the twists and turns of my tumultuous existence. I reached for the warm leather jacket slung over the back of my chair. Its scent a reminder of countless rides. My Browning high-power 9mm found its snug place against my side, pressing cold reassurance into the waistband of my jeans. Trust was a currency best spent sparingly in this line of work. The weight of the firearm served as a tangible reminder of that reality. The door creaked open, releasing a wave of sweltering heat that enveloped me once more. A final glance back at my room, my fleeting sanctuary, revealed the unspoken truth that this might be the last time I laid eyes on it. But survival demands sacrifice. With reluctant resolve, I stepped out into the fading sunlight, where the metallic purr of the Honda Shadow rumbled to life in response to my presence. The roar of the motorcycle beneath me became a thunderous anthem, a mechanical heartbeat, resonating with the pulse of the city as I revved up its engine. The wind whipped through the air like an eager accomplice, tugging at my clothes, tussling my hair. Riding this two-wheeled death machine wasn't just about getting from point A to point B. It was a show of defiance against the encroaching shadows that sought to swallow me whole. The guttural growls of the engine and wind whisper, "At this moment I can outrun my problems." The old mechanical operation system of my motorcycle served as a shield against the capricious nature of magic. In a world where the arcane often clashed with the technological, this vintage ride stood out as a testament to the enduring strength of the analog. The throttling engine responded to my command, its raw power coursing through the metal frame beneath me like a surge of electricity. Leaning into the curves, I felt the road become an extension of myself, an invisible partner in this dance with danger that we had practiced so many times before. In these moments, The line between human and machine blurred. The world transformed into a kaleidoscope of colors. Shadows dancing alongside me as I navigated through the streets of the city. Prescott's message lingered in my mind, a reminder that the freedom of the ride was a temporary reprieve from the looming reality. As the destination, Mad Lads, the establishment cloaked in shadows, drew nearer, the anticipation grew within me, knotting my stomach into an unyielding ball of anxiety. Mad Lads was not a place for leisurely nights out. It was a haven for those cast aside by society. The downtrodden, the desperate, the individuals who were better off in its shady confines than on the surface world where ignorance reigned supreme. Here, cleanliness was an insult. Phrases like, "Put it on my tab," often escalated into a bout of recreational violence for one of the parties involved. Neon signs flicker outside the door, casting eerie shadows against the stone walls as if warning passers-by to turn back or face certain doom. The scent of tobacco and sweat hung heavy in the air, mingling with the distant aroma of greasy food cooking within its dimly lit confines. Inside, a swarm of voices, like waves crashing against the shore, created an atmosphere that was strangely comforting to those who had found solace in this den of misfits. The dimly lit interior is always packed with worn-out furniture, littered with cheap drinks from previous patrons. The patrons, each with their own tales etched into their weary faces, didn't bother asking questions. They knew that the reasons for drowning one's sorrows were many and varied in this establishment. Mad Lads thrived on anonymity, the unspoken understanding that everyone had a reason to escape from reality, even if only for a short while. While the standard fare was budget-friendly, the option for top-shelf liquor was always available when billing clients, a paradoxical system that allowed for financial struggles to coexist with occasional extravagance. It was an unusual balancing act that kept the wheels of this peculiar establishment turning, while also attracting a motley crew of regulars who found solace in their shared misery. It might not be an upscale joint, but Mad Lads held a certain appeal for those who appreciated the lack of judgment, the unspoken camaraderie shared among its patrons. The establishment served as both a watering hole and clandestine job board for those dwelling in obscurity, offering employment to those down on their luck or desperate enough to take on any task, no matter how obscure or perilous it may be. In a world that preferred ignorance over acknowledgement of the supernatural, Mad Lads was where the unseen made their bargains, each transaction sealed with a nod, and an understanding that sometimes survival demanded stepping into the shadows. As I rumbled into the parking lot, Alex stood sentinel at his usual post by the entrance, a towering figure with fiery red hair and a Scottish brogue that could rattle windows, built like a fortress wall, solid, imposing, not one to be trifled with. Alex served as the first line of defense for this well-guarded establishment. He was more than just the bouncer. He was the gatekeeper who determined whether one belonged within these shadowy confines, or was better off seeking solace elsewhere. According to rumors, if you somehow managed to bypass Alec, an intricate web of defenses awaits beyond his watchful gaze. I have never tested this theory myself, nor do I intend to. Some secrets are better left undiscovered, especially within the protective confines of Mad Lads. I shut off the motorcycle's engine, allowing the beast's growl to fade. A familiar scene unfolded before my eyes. A pair of would-be tough guys, fueled by some substance or another, were itching for trouble. They appeared to be attempting to breach the sanctuary of Mad Lad's bar. The naive duo likely believed this rundown establishment was the perfect venue for a night of excitement. Little did they know the tempest that awaited them inside its dark confines. Their brash demands filled the dimly lit space as I approached, drawn to the chaos like a moth to a flame. One of the fools, a 20-something sporting a black tee that proudly proclaims "Natural Born Killer," complete with jeans and a closely shaved head, thrusts a wad of cash at Alec while insisting on entry. In an instant, Alec's hand shoots out like a striking snake, seizing the troublemaker by the throat, slowly lifting him off the ground. Turning to the other guy, Alec asks in his deep Scottish brogue, "Do you agree with him?" Poor soul turns ashen, desperately seeking an escape from the impending doom. I move in, positioning myself directly behind him, ready to participate in the spectacle. The apologetic mumbles of the second fool intensify as he inches backward, unintentionally backing into me, making an audible squeak of surprise. Seizing the opportunity, I couldn't resist a theatrical boo. Tough guy facade vanishes without a trace, replaced by newfound vulnerability. Alec releases his inhuman grip on the first guy, who falls to the ground coughing violently. He looks up at Alec, then quickly glances back to find his friend halfway down the block, sprinting as if the hounds of hell were at his heels. The natural-born killer quickly followed suit, probably realizing that this was his best bet at retaining all his bodily bits intact. The fleeing duo's parting shot, a half-hearted threat, drowned out our laughter. I can't help but smirk at the tearful quiver in his voice. It seems regrets have come early for our self-proclaimed tough guy. The atmosphere shifts, no longer tense with danger, as Alec resumes his position at the entrance, a living fortress against unwelcome visitors. Having a bit of fun tonight, Alec? I inquire, a hint of glee seeping into my voice as I observe his actions. Alec responds with a deep chuckle that resonates like it emanates from the very core of the earth itself. Let them off easier than anyone inside would have. He's always had an air of wisdom about him, even when he isn't saying anything in particular. Flashing a smile, I jest. Well, I don't think they'll be back anytime soon. Probably run all the way back to their moms after that. My sarcasm is met with his usual deadpan expression. It doesn't last long, as Alec grins while remaining silent. It's always challenging to discern whether he genuinely likes me, or if he's merely biding his time, ready to unleash his might if I ever step out of line. Without a word, he motions for me to go through the impressively sturdy door, which hums with power as I pass over it. Mad Lads takes its security seriously, both physically and metaphorically, providing refuge to those navigating the unseen world in ways that few can comprehend or imagine. The weight of the door closing behind me is a tangible reminder of the sanctuary this place provides, where walls can shield us from more than just physical threats. As I step into Mad Lads, it takes a moment for my eyes to adjust to the dim lighting that seems like an essential part of its atmosphere. Spotting Prescott isn't difficult. He stands out like a sore thumb amidst the crowd, donning a suit worth more than most of the patron's annual wages. He sits stiffly in his chair, avoiding any contact with the surroundings, as if the mere touch of anything would infect him with a multitude of filthy diseases that linger in these parts. We lock eyes briefly. I deliberately ignore him, striding purposefully toward the bar instead, confident in my decision to dismiss him for now. The knowledge that this casual snub irks the smug bastard brings a mischievous grin to my face. Never let them know you're desperate. We lock eyes briefly, our gazes clashing like two opposing forces. It's clear that he recognizes me, but I deliberately ignore him, striding purposefully toward the bar as if on a mission. The knowledge that this casual dismissal irks the arrogant man brings a mischievous grin to my face. Never let them know you're desperate or at their mercy. His face twists with annoyance, but he says nothing. As I pass him by, the owner and bartender of Mad Lads Max looms behind the bar like an imposing shadow. With an unkempt beard and weathered features, it's impossible to discern his true age. He's been the constant fixture of this dive for as long as anyone can remember, a beacon of stability. The regular patrons refer to him simply as Max. Evening, Max, I drawl, easing onto a stool that probably has more secrets than the city's sewer system. The wood creaks under my weight. I attempt to make war with its uncomfortable embrace, but after a couple of futile squirms, I surrender. Give me your most expensive single malt whiskey. Neat. I've got a date with the kind of trouble that requires some liquid courage. Max pivots with the seasoned grace of a man who's seen more shady deals than Sunday masses. His eyes dart around the dimly lit room, taking in the patrons like he's reading their thoughts. He knows everyone here, and they all know him. An unspoken bond that transcends words. With a practiced ease, he snags an unmarked bottle from beneath the bar. Its surface smooth from countless touches, each one leaving behind traces of stories untold. The bottle probably had a more colorful past than anyone in the joint. He pulls out an ornate stopper adorned with intricate engravings that seem to shimmer under the flickering candlelight. With practiced hands, he pours me a dram from the mysterious liquid inside. It glistens like liquid gold as it swirls in my crystal glass. Whiskey from the heart of Avalon, Max intones with an air of reverence, his voice a low hush. Supposedly, his eyes twinkle with mischief, but there's a hint of sadness behind them as well, a reflection of the countless dreams that have been crushed under the weight of reality. He sets the glass before me, its rim glinting in the dim light. Extremely rare, he continues, his voice barely above a whisper, and extremely expensive. He adds this last part with a half smile that suggests he knew the cost. And it wasn't just measured in dollars. I catch his eye and say, he'll be paying, while nodding casually in Prescott's direction, where he's nursing a glass of something that looks as potent as resentment. Prescott's eyes narrow, betraying his displeasure at my brazen request. Corners of his lips curl into a smirk, but it doesn't quite reach his cold blue eyes. So be it, he murmurs under his breath, signaling Max to charge the drink to him. As I lift the glass, the amber liquid catches the light, refracting into 1,000 dazzling rays that dance across the stone walls like liquid sunshine. It's mesmerizing, each ray casting shadows that flicker and shift as if alive with their own secrets. Max watches me intently, his eyes holding more stories than the pages of a well-worn grimoire. Careful, he warns softly, his voice carrying the weight of centuries upon it. He knows things, this old bartender, things that others would kill to keep hidden. Yet still, there is an undeniable sense of camaraderie between us, a bond forged in shared experiences and mutual respect. I take a sip of my whiskey, allowing its warmth to seep into my bones, chasing away the chill that clings to my heart like an unwanted shadow. The taste is unlike anything I've ever experienced before, rich, complex, with layers upon layers of flavor that unfold as it slides down my throat. It's like a journey through time itself. Careful of what? I ask, my tone a sly invitation for gossip, baiting him into revealing more about Prescott than he might have intended. After all, knowledge is power, and there's nothing quite as satisfying as knowing something others don't. Max leans in closer, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper. I don't trust him, he replies, his eyes narrowing slightly, as if trying to see through the shadows cast by his own words. There's an unspoken understanding between us. We both sense that there's something off about Prescott, something lurking beneath the surface like a predator waiting to strike. From experience, I know this is as much as I'll get from Max in terms of a warning. His silence speaks volumes, just another testament to his unspoken wisdom. As I stand up from the stool, I can't help but feel grateful for our shared moments over countless drinks and whispered secrets. In this dimly lit corner of the world, Max has become my ally, a constant reminder that there are still those who walk their own path, undeterred by the shadows that threaten to swallow us whole. With newfound determination, I make my way across the cramped space towards Prescott's table. Though the bar isn't expensive, it feels like an eternity as I navigate through the maze of bodies, stepping in spilled drinks. Each step brings me closer to confronting whatever game he has planned for tonight, a game that seems to have been set in motion long before my arrival. As I approach, I lock eyes with Prescott, our gazes clashing like two opposing forces. He looks taken aback by my bold move, but there's also an underlying current of admiration beneath the surface, a recognition of my defiance against his perceived authority. With a flourish that borders on theatrical, I plop down right next to him in his pristine suit. One of my skills is reading people, a skill honed over countless encounters with those who think they have the upper hand. I know exactly how to get under their skin. I would be lying if I said I didn't take pleasure in it sometimes. Prescott lets out a heavy sigh, his exasperation evident as he tries to regain control of the situation. Really, David? His tone dripping with condescension. Petty as ever I see. Good to know some things don't change. His eyes travel down my body, taking in the worn, tattered clothes that I wear like a badge of honor. The plain black shirt, a relic adorned with holes, frayed from past battles fought, now hangs limply over my frame. My jeans are worn threadbare, each tear telling a story of resilience and survival against all odds. And my scuffed boots, they bear witness to the miles I've traveled, both literally and metaphorically, in search of my place in this universe. I look down at my own attire with a grin, fully embracing my unconventional appearance. What can I say? I reply nonchalantly, downing the remainder of my whiskey in one gulp tot. It burns as it goes down, but there's something refreshing about the searing heat that cuts through the tension between us like a knife. As I inch closer to Prescott, his discomfort becomes palpable. His nose wrinkles involuntarily, and he shifts uneasily in his seat. Perfect. Never let them be comfortable. If done right, this discomfort will squeeze more information out of them than they want to give. With each subtle movement, I can feel the power shifting between us. A delicate dance of dominance that only serves to fuel my determination to uncover whatever game he's playing tonight. It's a lifestyle choice. My voice laced with irony as I stare Prescott in the eye, daring him to challenge my stance. We can't all be richer than the Pope. The words hang heavy between us, echoing the chasm that separates our worlds. One of wealth and power, the other of struggle and survival. In fact, I continue, leaning in closer, my voice barely more than a whisper now, I prefer it this way. My eyes hold his gaze, challenging him to question my choices, to doubt my convictions. You can dress a turd in Armani, but it's still a turd. The metaphor is clear, bitingly so. Wealth may buy fancy clothes and extravagant lifestyles, but it cannot change the essence of who we are beneath the surface. I, for one, refuse to be defined by my circumstances or the trappings of material success. Prescott's face twists with annoyance, yet he says nothing. His silence speaks volumes. I can see the wheels turning behind his cold blue eyes as he processes my words. Finally, after what feels like an eternity of uncomfortable silence, he speaks up. Very well, he says with a sigh, seemingly resigned to whatever fate has brought us together tonight. Let's get down to business. Prescott's body language changed, a subtle shift that would go unnoticed by most. But I wasn't normal. My instincts were honed over years of navigating the dangerous world we inhabited. All the alarms just started blaring in my head. He was nervous. I hadn't ever seen Prescott nervous before. He was normally cool, collected, secure with his place in the world, far above the struggle most of us dealt with on a daily basis. For people like him, the only problem to solve was who to sacrifice for more power. His eyes darted around the room as if searching for an escape route, or perhaps looking for confirmation that he wasn't alone in this unexpected vulnerability. It was both unnerving and intriguing at the same time, a rare glimpse into the inner workings of a man who had always seemed untouchable. I need you to retrieve something for me, Prescott continued, his voice strained with tension that belied the casual tone he usually maintained. It's important. The urgency in his words was unmistakable. This wasn't just another errand for him. There was something more at stake here. Something big. I leaned back in my chair, steepling my fingers beneath my chin as I contemplated his request. What exactly do you want me to retrieve? I asked cautiously, not wanting to commit too soon without knowing the full extent of what I might be getting myself into. After all, there were no guarantees when dealing with someone like Prescott, especially when he seemed so out of character. The request itself was nothing unusual, at least not for someone like me who had seen their fair share of secret societies, shadowy organizations, all vying for control over the world. Occasionally word of their antics got out, giving rise to rumors about the Illuminati or other such groups, but the truth was far more complex than that. A tangled web of power struggles and hidden agendas played out behind closed doors, away from prying eyes. In reality, the real movers and shakers of the world had been in control for centuries, using governments as tools to be manipulated according to their own whims. They were the secret societies that ran things, a shadowy cabal of individuals who believed power and control was their birthright. Organizations like CROSS, Committee to Research and Observe Secret Sciences, rose to prominence, driven by an unshakable belief in humanity's ability to conquer nature through sheer force of will and innovation. Their goal was simple yet ambitious: eradicate magic-based factions from Earth once and for all, proving that technology held the key to true progress. Prescott. He was upper middle management within CROSS, a man tasked with carrying out their directives without question or hesitation. So when he declared, "I need you to retrieve something for me," it wasn't surprising. Just another day in my life as an unofficial errand boy for various minor secret societies who needed someone like me for jobs themselves. There was always some kind of catch, though. These groups never operated without a hidden agenda or ulterior motive lurking beneath the surface. If there was one thing I had learned over the years, it was to trust my instincts when dealing with such people. Retrieve what? From where? And why me? I fired back, my skepticism etched across my face like a permanent scar. It was always wise to question the motives of those in power, especially when they were as unpredictable as Prescott. Prescott smirked, leaning back in his chair, hands steepled together. "Well," he drawled with a hint of amusement, "because you're expendable, of course." His words hung in the air like a veil of disdain, reminding me that I was little more than a pawn in this grand game of power. In addition to my ability to see the unseen, I possess some affinity for magic, albeit on a much smaller scale than the grandiose displays often associated with those who wield such power. Nothing as impressive as flying or casting lightning bolts. No, my gifts were far more subtle. I couldn't heal others of their wounds, but that didn't mean I was entirely helpless in a fight. Over the years, I'd learned to use my unique abilities to my advantage, honing them into deadly weapons capable of turning the tide in my favor. One such talent involved affecting the sight of others, manipulating what they saw and how they perceived reality around them. It was as simple as reaching out with my mind, adjusting their perception just enough to throw them off balance, or create an opening for me to strike. Believe me, I had taken full advantage of this skill in countless fights against various foes who underestimated the danger posed by someone like me, a seemingly ordinary individual hiding behind a facade of weakness. Since I wasn't affiliated with any particular group or organization, Prescott didn't view me as an immediate threat to his own power base, but that didn't stop him from keeping a watchful eye on me, just in case. While I had no illusions about being safe from his wrath forever, I took solace in knowing that, for now at least, my independence granted me some measure of freedom from his organization. "Fuck off, Prescott," I snap, my anger boiling over as I stand up to start walking away from him. No job is worth dying for, especially not for a prick like him who seems to derive pleasure from manipulating people's lives for his own gain. I can feel the weight of his eyes on me as I leave, knowing that he isn't done with me yet. As if to drive home the point, Prescott casually calls out after me, "Are you sure you're in a position to turn down a job? It's not a secret that you need money." And there it is, the knife twisting in my back as he reminds me of my desperation. I stop in my tracks, realizing with bitter disappointment that he has me cornered. He continues, 90,000 credits for one night's work, his voice like poisoned wine as he lays out the offer before me. It's more money than I make in a year, an amount so staggering it should be impossible to resist. Prescott knows exactly how desperate my situation has become. With no other choice left, I turn back towards him, swallowing the bitter taste of defeat. "All right," I say reluctantly. "You have my attention." As he leans closer, his voice drops to a conspiratorial whisper. "We need you to retrieve something for us tonight." The urgency in his words is palpable. This isn't just another errand for him. There's something big at stake here. With the promise of 90,000 reasons why I should take on this task, it becomes clear that whatever they want retrieved must be incredibly valuable or dangerously powerful. Whatever the case may be, one thing is certain. Tonight will not be an ordinary night. I let out a resigned sigh. "Boss," I say, knowing full well that nothing in this line of work ever goes smoothly. "So what am I fetching? And why can't you send one of your goons to do it?" I asked, trying to buy myself some time before committing to this dangerous endeavor. Prescott leans in closer, his voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper, as if sharing secret information that could change the course of history. We need you because whatever we're after is hidden in a place with magical protections, he explains, his eyes glinting with excitement at the prospect of putting me through my paces once more. Our people aren't known for their subtlety. He continues, but you, my dear David, with your unique abilities, can slip through undetected. It's a simple in-and-out job for someone of your talents. The implication is clear. I am their only hope to retrieve whatever it is they seek, without drawing attention from the magical forces guarding it. I roll my eyes at his description of my abilities, but deep down I know he's right. There are things that I can do that others cannot. While I may not be able to fly or cast lightning bolts, my skill set still makes me a valuable asset in situations like these. However, I won't let him forget just how risky this task will be for someone without any real backup plan if things go south. Fine, I say with a heavy sigh, but half up front, wired into the usual account. I emphasize the word usual, making sure he understands that I expect no deviations from our agreed-upon terms this time around. And if I get turned into a frog or something equally ridiculous, I better be compensated with a lifetime supply of flies. Prescott smirks, clearly enjoying the banter. Deal, he says, extending his hand across the table for a handshake. Half up front and a lifetime supply of flies if you end up with warts. His eyes sparkle with amusement as he savors the moment. I can't help but wonder if dealing with Cross is worth the hefty payday, or if I'm just signing up for a one-way ticket to the loony bin. I mutter, voicing my own doubts about this arrangement. After all, there are few things in life more dangerous than crossing powerful organizations who have an army at their disposal. I hesitate for a moment longer, before finally shaking his hand, sealing our agreement and setting in motion a course of action that could lead to either great fortune or total ruin. I can't help but feel like there's more at stake here than just money, as if the fates themselves have taken an interest in the outcome of this night's events. With Prescott's mysterious organization pulling the strings from behind the scenes, I can be assured that nothing is quite as simple as it appears on the surface. I furrow my brow, leaning forward, my skepticism evident as I press him for more information. You're pretty vague on details there. What am I looking for? I ask, not buying into his confident demeanor without some concrete evidence to back up his claims. Prescott reaches into his inside jacket pocket, pulling out a neatly folded piece of paper. You'll know it when you see it. You can find all the details you need here, he says with an air of confidence that I can't help but feel is misplaced given our current situation. I raise an eyebrow at his response, looking closer at the paper in his hand, trying to glean any information from its presence alone. Paper, pretty low tech for Cross, I remark with a hint of sarcasm. Is this job from the society, or is it a personal request from you? Prescott leans back in his chair, smirking, clearly enjoying the power dynamic between us. We would never let someone like you have access to our real equipment. He sneers in an icy tone, emphasizing the distance between him and myself. He stands up from the table, a renewed sense of confidence radiating off of him. As he makes his way to the door, he turns back to me with a final warning. Don't mess this up, he says ominously, or there will be consequences. His words hang in the air, leaving an unsettling feeling behind, as I watch the door swing shut behind him, sealing Prescott away from my immediate surroundings, but not out of my thoughts. As I tuck the mysterious piece of paper into my pocket, rising from my seat, I can't help but chuckle at the irony of being entrusted with such an important task by an organization whose sole purpose is to eradicate magic in all its forms. Whatever this job is, it definitely isn't usual. Why Prescott isn't using his own people for something important is a mystery that doesn't sit quite right with me. I remind myself, dwelling on it won't pay the bills. The allure of a fat payday has a way of smoothing out any doubts. Standing from my table, I give a brief wave goodbye to Max, heading out into the chilly night air. The neon glow of Mad Lads fades behind me as I step into the gritty embrace of the city's night. I'm only a few blocks from the bar when I come to a stop at a red light, my motorcycle rumbling comfortably beneath me. That's when I see them, the two idiots from earlier. The one who escaped first spots me, pointing excitedly, yelling at his friend while hopping up and down. Yep, definitely still on something. His friend looks at me, going red in the face. He pulls out a gun, pointing it straight at me. I sit stunned for a second too long. He pulled the trigger, but nothing happened. He was now staring at the gun, like it betrayed him, confusion written plainly on his face. The idiot had the safety still on. Realizing his mistake, he flips the safety off while murmuring curses beneath his breath. My momentary shock wears off, allowing me to activate my ability, making him think he's aiming straight at me. He shouts something about, "No one messes with me," and gets away with it, while pulling the trigger. What comes next is a look of confusion, then shock, followed by pain. The self-proclaimed natural-born killer shot himself in the foot. Looking down, he notices the new hole in his shoe with blood under it. Realization of what he just did washes over his face. At that moment, I can't help but burst into laughter, all while rolling my throttle hard, dumping my clutch, leaving the confused guy screaming in pain, his friend trying to figure out why he just shot his own foot off. My trick isn't perfect. It doesn't affect technology. Strong feelings like pain will break the effect. Some magic can detect and negate it. Yet when used right, it can be absolutely devastating. As I speed away, the wails of his confused agony blend with the city's natural soundscape, creating a kind of absurdity that seems fitting for the strange night. As I ride off into the night, my laughter continues to reverberate through my helmet, mixing with the humming engine. The neon lights of the city blur together as I weave in and out of traffic, feeling a sense of exhilaration that's both thrilling and terrifying. The rest of the ride home provides a much-needed distraction from reality. The thundering roar of the engine mixed with a rush of wind against my face drowns out the lingering sound of gunshots from the absurd earlier encounter. My focus narrows to the road ahead, the relentless hum of the city becoming a distant backdrop. Before I know it, I'm back home. All good things end too quickly, I mutter, killing the engine. The vicious rumbling dies abruptly, leaving the night in a sudden hush. Not much time has passed since I first left, but the sun has completed its descent, surrendering the sky to the dark of night. I glance at my shack, a small, weathered building with peeling paint and cracked windows. Nothing to brag about, or show anyone. I stumbled upon it, empty and forgotten, like the rest of the houses on the block that have long since given in to decay, a testament to the roughness of the neighborhood. No one has tried to kick me out yet, and it's been almost a year. I head inside, my boots clicking against the cold, damp floorboards as I make my way through the dimly lit rooms. As I enter my sanctuary, a small space, crammed with books, papers, and various trinkets from my adventures, I can't help but feel a sense of relief wash over me. The chaos outside seemed so far away in this little corner of solitude. My room is small, smelling of mold, with a south-facing window that offers no view, thanks to the previous resident's artistic choice of painting it black. The floor doesn't just squeak, it screams protest at every step. My bed, well, let's say I won't be winning any hospitality awards. Running water is a luxury when I don't have. I have to use the garden tap on the house 2 doors down. I've rigged a string attached to a bucket with holes drilled at the bottom as a makeshift shower over there. I head back over to my favorite chair, one of the few things I brought here myself, opening the folded piece of paper Prescott gave me. I read the 2 lines on it. 514 Sundance Avenue, top floor. I toss the piece of paper aside, not caring where it lands, determined to zone out to whatever absurdity is playing on the battered TV. It doesn't take long before the dissonant voices and flickering lights lull me into a restless sleep. I dream of my past. I dream of the Undercity. I wasn't born on Earth. I escaped here. That isn't to say I'm not human. Most days, I think I am. I was born in the Undercity. Ever wonder what a place that fulfills everyone's desires looks like? Welcome to Undercity, the most dangerously fascinating city you will probably never return from. Whatever you're looking for, Undercity has it. Just don't cry when it's not what you expect. Sorry, no refunds. No, it doesn't matter that the love potion made them so obsessed they stopped eating. Don't cry on the way out. Everyone will just point and laugh. The Undercity is a place, but it has no location. Every reality and plane is connected to it somehow. You're just as likely to see a panhandling elemental down on their luck, as you are a legendary knight of the Round Table riding his horse down the street in full regalia. Everyone who's anyone has been to the Undercity for one reason or another. Occasionally, normal people can find themselves in the Undercity. The smart ones leave, hopefully still with a soul. I'm an orphan. I don't know what happened to my real parents. No one ever told me. Orphans in the Undercity generally don't last long. I'm one of the few exceptions, and I didn't turn out so great either. I was taken in by a man named Victor. He saw something in me, said I was special, and needed to use my gift. The problem was, I had no idea what he was talking about. As the years went on, he became more and more frustrated that I wasn't displaying the talent he expected of me. It got to the point where I knew he was going to kill me. One day, in a situation I'm still trying to fully comprehend, I accidentally killed him instead and escaped into the streets of the Undercity. I spent 10 years living that way, fighting to survive in the toughest conditions possible. Made a few friends, but mostly enemies along the way. Then, one day, my past caught up to me. I called in a favor from one of my few friends, and I fled to Earth.
Alright guys, that is the end of chapter 1. I hope you all enjoyed it. I won't be commenting too much on it because I am the author and I don't want to spoil or foreshadow or implant any ideas into your head. I want you to, come to those conclusions naturally on your own. Feel free to let me know where you think the book is going, what you thought of chapter 1, and I may continue to upload these very slowly as this is sort of a free preview of my book to promote it. Otherwise, I appreciate you all for getting this far if you made it here, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. God bless you all.